great to be here. Part of my job, I get to work with some of the amazing people in Turkey, and I used to work outside as well. We get the chance to work with some of the technologies that are really, really amazing and cool. We get a chance to use those technologies to empower people, startups, and other companies. We get to work on problems that are like 10 years ago or 15 years ago were deemed as, wow, that's not possible to solve. We cannot solve that problem. Or we get to work with some of the technologies or some of the problems that we didn't even think about yet. So it's a great time, and it almost allows us to have capabilities at a level like superhumans. We all have this. We all have the power to become a superhero, super intelligent, super hero in our lives through the power of technology. I'll try to give some examples in my talk. So what makes us different than other species on this planet is our ability to create and imagine. If you think about our our bodies are not really stronger. Probably we are one of the least stronger species on the planet. But we overcome the natural selection process, right? We did that with our ability to create and imagine. So we are tool makers as human beings. We make tools. We made, spears, whale, then machines, cars, robots, and now software. So all of those tools amplifies our capabilities, amplifies our creativity, and amplifies our ability to solve problems. But everything starts very early. How can you inject creativity and imagination into someone? Does it happen in the university? Does it happen in the high school? Does it happen after you graduate and work in some of the cool companies? It starts way early. This is my son. He is right now 6 years old. When we were making this project, he was 5. So he had a dream. He had an idea, like a startup, like any entrepreneur. Great idea. He's got some materials. He wants to do a nice, picture made by the things that he collected from the sea and the beach. So he had an idea. You can see the picture in the middle. Sky, sea, bottom of the sea. And then he starts working on the idea. He even surprises me. I learn a lot from him when we do projects together. This is the skeleton of a monkfish we ate a week before. And he wanted to dry that. And I never thought that, he's going to use it. I just thought that he was just going to dry it and then throw it and give up and do something else. While we are doing the project, he went to the balcony, he brought this and said, I'm going to use this, Daddy. I'm going to paint it, and I'm going to use it inside the project. Out-of-the-box thinking. Sometimes the ideas you have, when you implement them, you imagine things that you didn't have that idea in the beginning. And then he worked on implementing this idea. It wasn't easy. Executing your dreams, executing your ideas is not easy. You fail many times, you learn. You learn from your mistakes. But it increases your stamina, your energy, and you learn even more. And you finish it. What you started at the beginning is very different than what you end up with. Even he himself surprised that he came up with something like this. He had an idea, but what he ended up was completely different than what he started. And then he started to multiply this. We're getting offers from the family members, and he's building, and every time he's multiplying this, he's learning new things and optimizing what he has done before. He's having fun at the same time and learning. And at that age, he's learning how difficult to implement an idea, how difficult it is to create something, imagine, and then creating something. Now, if you think about today's world, software is the tool. We are the tool makers, and the 21st century's tool is the software. It augments our capabilities. It empowers us. But at the heart of the software, the fuel, raw material, is the data. Yes, we have a lot of technologies, AI, machine learning, so many other technologies to understand the data, process the data, but the data is the raw material that we process. And like any other raw material, what is the unique attributes of a raw material? It only makes sense, it only creates value if you process it. Otherwise, it's just an iron in the ground. In the case of an iron, is a raw material. So the data is like that too. Once you start processing, once you start understanding, once you start building mechanisms to learn, and once you start teaching software to learn using the power of data, then you empower that raw material. It transforms and creates and enables us to have the capabilities that Superhuman has. I'll give you some examples of the super people that I met. These are some examples from Turkey. Some of the people that I work with, some of the ISVs have solutions around this, and startups. My hometown is in Izmir, and there's a farmer there my parents work with. He has a little application made by local Turkish startup that allows him to grow his crops. It tells him when, based on the location of his farm, when he should plant the things that he wants. What is the right timing? When he should prove? When he should put the other medicines and everything else? What are the local diseases that he needs to take in action? And more importantly, once he gathers his crops, if he sells in that location, how much money can he have? If he goes 50 kilometers, 100 kilometers, 75 kilometers, how much money he can get from other markets? He's a farmer, but compared to other farmers, he's a super farmer, right? Manufacturing, we get to work with companies. Local manufacturers in Turkey used to just copy TVs and so on, sell them to mass markets. Now they are thinking about smart manufacturing lines. There are companies, there are local entrepreneurs who build solutions to have learning machine production lines. Production lines that can learn, understand when the next time the problem is going to happen, how they can optimize the process, how they can optimize the ordering process for the supply chain. From which supplier, how many quantity, when they should purchase those raw materials. There are technologies that enables them to become super manufacturers. Supercars, you know already. The cars we drive today, compared to 10, 15 years ago, they probably have more than multiple thousand sensors in them. It allows producers, car manufacturers, to really understand the behaviors of the drivers. It enables scenarios that wasn't possible before. Self-sufficient houses, it's not even a dream. Today, there are companies working on self-sufficient houses, energy-efficient houses. Not only from electricity, from the sun and alternative energy sources, but also water. There are local companies and global companies who work on those technologies to make a standalone house completely self-sufficient. It's not science fiction, it's available. There are examples on everywhere. Super cities. 70% of the human population will live in cities in 2020. I mean, imagine the problems, types of problems the cities might have. Now, each city is getting more intelligent, and software, sensors, and AI is playing a critical role there. There are companies here in Turkey, for example, that we work with, who have solutions to completely solve the garbage collection problem of the whole city. They claim that once they engage with the city, there will never be a full garbage can in that city, and you will never stop behind a garbage truck that is waiting to check the garbage truck, the garbage can that is not full. Again, cities. For the cities, there are people in here that we work with who completely work on self-sustainable buildings, completely automated buildings through the power of software. One of the interesting examples that I had was lawyers. Like, lawyers are not the ones that you can think of as it comes to innovation, creativity, and how the technology is impacting those jobs. And I had a friend, and I asked him a few days ago, I asked him how his life has changed in the last 10 years. As a lawyer, here's the example he gave me. He said, 10 years ago, if I had a case, and if I wanted to know the similar cases of the similar situations, what happened in the last 10 years, similar cases, their results, what was the verdict. If they have that data, they can basically estimate relatively high probability what their case will result. This used to be a 2 weeks exercise that they had to go and look for the similar cases, look for different countries, cities, look at the global data, the country level data, Ministry of Justice data, and so on. 2 weeks. Today, it's 1.5 hours. So imagine how their lives changed as a lawyer. And they are, compared to 10 years ago, they are super lawyers. And that makes them unique and super lawyers is the technology, software, and the data. There are super doctors. I had a surgery a few weeks ago, eye surgery. To me, my doctor is a superhero. What he does is amazing. He basically takes the eye, takes out the inside gel, fixes the retina, puts the gel back, and then puts a silicone between the gel and the fixed retina so that gel doesn't pull the fixed retina. He does all of that with kind of HoloLens type device on his head. He does the sealing around the eye with microsurgery. And then he monitors the whole situation with the program and the software he has. Software collects samples, like the thickness of the retina, space between the retina and the gel, position of the silicon. And he makes his judgments based on the software and the data and everything else he uses in the operation room. He's a super doctor, literally. And teachers and students. I mean, every one of you can imagine in the next 5 years, most likely MIT level class content, education content, will be available for everyone on the planet for free. It's already happening. Khan Academy and other universities are doing this already. So if you have a laptop, internet connectivity, you'll be able to talk to interactively a software, bot service, and you will be able to reach the content, education content of MIT and Harvard, whether you are in side part of Turkey or India or everywhere else. Imagine how the technology will change the education, making the students and the teachers super students and teachers. And finally, it's removing barriers for people with disabilities. People with disabilities even have the chance to be superhumans. We have 2 people in my team, they are visually impaired. One of them writes software, the other one tests the software that he writes, almost like a dev lead and a test lead. And the software they build today allows thousands of visually impaired in Turkey to reach 25,000 books from anywhere and read it. I mean, literally, when you talk to them over an IM or email, you will never realize that they are visually impaired. The code he writes, you will think it's just coming from a regular software engineer. So It's removing the barriers for everyone. So what we have to do, so if we all have the capabilities to be the superhumans, and it's not in the realm of software developers or engineers or computer science, it's for everything we do, every occupation you can think of, you have the ability to become a superhero. So, what we have to do then? Power of software. It's magic, right? Bill Gates once said, closest thing to a magic on this planet is the software, right? You create a software, you create an app, or you create a service, and then you have the ability to touch millions of people's lives. So it's a magic. So we need to embrace that magic. We need to have generations who can create that magic for the countries that we are in. Data-driven thinking, super important. Decision-making. Everything you do, especially for startup world, and these days everything is cloud-based, but beyond the startup world, data-driven decision-making and measurement. Super important as the Middle East and Mediterranean culture. You know, we like to play with our emotions. We like to make our judgments, decisions, based on our emotions. It's important. Emotions are important, strong feelings. But if you have to combine the emotions, your experience with the data, like the doctor example I give you. They're very expert, but they still rely on the data to give the right decision on treatment for their patients. Same thing with everything you do. If you are a digital marketeer and you have a new campaign idea and you want to be able to, support that idea with hard evidence and data. And once the campaign is in place, you need to be able to measure the impact of that campaign. How many people he reached? What was the outcome you were looking for? Are you really getting the outcome you wanted? So it's everywhere, data-driven thinking and decision-making. Ideas. We all have ideas. Again, Mediterranean cultures, we love to create ideas every day. Dozens of ideas every day. But what makes the difference is the execution. And you all know, part of being the startup communities, entrepreneurs, you all know the importance of the execution. Idea itself, great. But real difference comes the way you execute those things. The success of an idea at the end of the day, 95% attributed to the execution. Your ability, your team's ability, your company's ability, your group's ability to execute that idea and learn on the way. So it's critical. So if you summarize all of those in one sentence, believe in the magic of software, because that's the tool of 21st century that allows to have human powers, superpowers. Have the data-driven thinking in your decisions and measuring your decisions and your ideas. Create the ideas, but don't forget that it's important to execute them and the real success from the execution. Thank you very much, and I hope you guys are going to have a great sessions after me. Thank you.